Tonight, the first king of the universe will die, and the god who kills him is his own youngest son. He is already waiting in the dark, the great gray sickle cold and ready in his hand. This is the story of the first murder in all of creation, and of the three astonishing things, terrible and beautiful, that were born from a single wound. When we last left the cosmos, the world stood frozen on the edge of a single terrible deed. Gaia, the earth, had been wronged beyond bearing. Her own husband, the sky, had imprisoned every child they made inside her own aching body. In her grief, she forged a weapon of gray, unbreakable adamant, a jagged sickle made for one purpose. She called her mighty children together and asked which of them would dare punish their father. 11 of the 12 fell silent in fear. Only the youngest dared answer. Cronus, boldest and coldest of the Titans, took the blade and said, "I will." So Gaia hid him in ambush, deep in a hidden hollow of the earth, and told him to wait for the night. And now the night is come. The world is dark and silent, and the trap is set, and the hunter is in his place. Far above, the great starry sky begins to stir, and slowly, hugely begins to descend. Picture the one who waits below, Cronus, crouched in shadow, every muscle coiled, the sickle gleaming in his fist. And picture the one who comes, Uranus, the sky, vast and cold and beautiful, suspecting nothing at all. He has done this 1,000 times, folded himself down over the earth in the dark, longing for her. He does not know that tonight, at last, the earth has set a trap for him. He does not know that his own youngest son is hiding inside it. Tonight, the canopy of heaven comes down for the last time, and it will never lie close to the world again. Let us slow this single moment down, because everything that follows, every god, every war, every love, pours out of it. Above the young world, the night sky bends, stars wheel closer. The dark deepens over the green hills. Uranus descends the way he always does, certain of his power, certain that nothing in the cosmos can touch him. He is the first ruler the universe has ever known. In all the long ages, he has never once been challenged, never once been afraid. That certainty is about to become the most expensive mistake in the history of the gods. Below him, the earth holds utterly still. Gaia does not move. She does not cry out. She does not warn him. She simply waits. And within her, in a hollow of shadow and stone, her youngest son holds his breath. Cronus watches the great starry body lower steadily toward him, closer and closer, slowly blotting out the last of the light. In his right hand, the adamant sickle. In his heart, no fear at all, only a cold and patient hate. Remember well what this father has done. He buried his own children alive inside their own mother, only to keep his throne. He took pleasure in it. Hesiod says the sky rejoiced in his evil doing as his children screamed in the dark. So there is no mercy waiting in the ambush. There is only the long memory of that cruelty, sharpened to an edge. Closer and closer the sky comes. The countless stars on his skin swim huge over the crouching sun. The dark is now almost total. Cronus shifts his weight. The sickle turns silently in his grip. The hilt is slick in his hand. One breath more. The vast cold body of the heavens settles down over the waiting earth. And at that, the youngest of the Titans rises up out of the dark. With his left hand, he reaches up and seizes his father, gripping the immortal flesh of the sky itself. And with his right, he lifts the great gray sickle high against the stars. There is a single instant of perfect stillness, the blade at the top of its arc, the sky frozen in surprise, and the whole universe seems to hold its breath. And then Cronus brings it down. In one swift, savage stroke, the youngest son reaps his own father with the sickle. The great gray blade tears through the immortal flesh of the sky, and the first king of the cosmos is unmanned. A scream rips across the whole of creation, a sound the universe has never heard before, the sound of a god in agony. Cronus does not pause, not even for a heartbeat. He flings the severed parts of his father away behind him, out and over the dark and surging sea. And the sky recoils. Wounded, screaming, the great starry body wrenches upward, away from the earth. This is the moment the world breaks in two. For until tonight, sky had always lain close upon the earth, pressed down over her, near enough to touch. Now in pain and horror, Uranus tears himself loose and flees upward, higher and higher and higher still, and he never comes back down. This is why the heavens hang so far above us. This is the night the sky was driven away from the earth forever. The wound that separated them never healed, and the gap it opened is the very sky over your head. Gaia is free at last. The crushing weight of the sky is gone. For the first time ever, the earth lies open and breathing beneath an empty heaven. Her imprisoned children, the Titans, are loosed at last into the light they were so long denied. The long tyranny of the sky is over. The first ruler the universe ever knew has fallen at last. But do not mistake this for a happy ending. Look down at the earth, where the blood is still falling. Because the blow that freed the world has also opened a wound that will never, ever close. From that wound, three things are about to be born, and every one of them will shape the ages to come. Vengeance, war, and strangest of all, love itself. As the sky fled upward, the blood of his wound rained down upon the body of Gaia, the earth. And where the blood of a god falls upon the living earth, the earth does not simply drink it down and forget. She conceives. Drop by drop, the spilled blood soaked deep into the soil, and the dark soil began to stir and heave with terrible new life. First rose the Erinyes, the Furies, three avenging goddesses born from the blood of a son's crime against his father. Think on the awful symmetry of that. The first crime within a family gives birth to the punishers of family crime. They are dreadful to look upon, wings dark as soot, snakes in their hair, eyes weeping blood, whips of bronze. From that night on, whenever a child wrongs a parent, or kinsman spills the blood of kin, the Furies come. They will hound murderers across the whole of myth, never sleeping, never forgiving. And they were born here tonight. Then from the same blood rose something else, taller, armored, gleaming, the giants. Great war-born sons of the earth, clad in bright armor, gripping long spears, hungry for battle from their first breath. They will sleep in the deep places of the world for a long age, but one day they will rise in their thousands to storm the very heavens. The war of the giants is still far off, but its seed is sown right here in the blood of the falling sky. And last of all, from that same red rain, rose something unexpectedly gentle. The Meliae, the graceful nymphs of the ash trees, slender spirits of the woodland, quiet and green, life rising softly out of the very same horror. So in one night the wound gave birth to all of it at once. The avengers, the armored warriors, and the gentle green spirits of the trees. Vengeance and war and tenderness, all sprung from one single stroke of the sickle. But the strangest birth of all was still out there, far out at sea, far away from the bleeding earth. The severed flesh of the sky drifted out across the wide, dark, and surging sea. It did not sink. It did not rot. The deathless flesh of a god floated on the waves, carried on and on by the wandering current. And around it, something began to gather. A pale brightness, a churning ring of white sea foam. The foam thickened and swirled and grew, glowing softly on the black water, mile after rolling mile, until it shone like a fallen piece of the moon. And within that foam, Aphros, the Greeks called it, something was quietly, impossibly taking shape. A form, a figure, a woman, growing within the foam of the sea as the waves bore her slowly toward land. She drifted first past the island of Cythera, and then on, across the bright water, toward the shores of Cyprus. And there, where the white foam met the golden shallows, she rose. Fully formed and shining, she stepped from the sea onto dry land. Aphrodite, the goddess of love and desire, born, and there is no gentler way to say it, from a wound. Grass and flowers sprang up beneath her feet where she walked. The whole shore bloomed to meet her, and two companions attended her from the first instant, Eros, desire, and Himeros, longing, at her side. Stop for a moment and feel the sheer strangeness of this. The most beautiful being in all of mythology was born from an act of castration. From the cosmos's very first act of violence came the force that would one day launch 1,000 ships and topple the towers of Troy. Love and violence born from the same wound in the same hour. The Greeks felt that truth deep in their bones. You may have heard that Aphrodite was the daughter of Zeus. Homer tells it that way. But this is the older story. Aphros, foam, Aphrodite, the foam-born, and it ties her forever to the fall of the sky. And what of Uranus himself? The maimed and humbled sky, fled now to the farthest, coldest heights of heaven. Wounded and raging in the heights, the first king of the cosmos looked down upon the proud sons who had brought him low. And from those heights he gave his children a name that was also forever a curse. He called them Titans. And in the old Greek, the word is an accusation, those who strained, who overreached. They had reached too far, he said. They had dared a monstrous deed, and for it, vengeance would surely come. Hesiod gives us the bitter wordplay. The Titans, the overreachers, marked forever for the payback they had earned. So the proudest name in all of mythology began as a father's curse upon the children who destroyed him. And this curse had real teeth. For Uranus did not only name his sons, he also foretold their certain doom. Just as Cronus had risen up and overthrown his own father. So one day Cronus too would be overthrown by his very own child. But Cronus, in his hour of triumph, did not yet fear the words. He climbed instead onto the empty throne. The youngest Titan became the second king the universe had ever known. The Avenger had crowned himself the ruler of all things. His brothers and sisters, the great Titans, walked free in the light at last. The long age of the Titans had begun. But watch closely what the new king does next, because it tells you exactly what kind of king he will be. Down in the dark, the 100-handers and the Cyclopes were still chained, his own brothers, the monsters. And Cronus, the great liberator, looked at their chains, and he left them exactly where his father had. He had freed the whole cosmos from one fearful, child-fearing tyrant, and in the very same breath quietly become the next one. For the curse was already working in him. The new king had begun to dread a child not yet born. The child who would one day rise and do to Cronus exactly what Cronus had done to his own father. And so the first wound of the cosmos never truly closed. From it still pour, even now, vengeance and war and love. And the wheel of succession set turning here tonight will not rest until a thunderbolt finally falls. For to keep his stolen throne, the new king will soon do something darker than his father ever dreamed. He will begin to swallow his own children. But that is a horror for another night. Thank you for watching. If this tale stayed with you, subscribe. A new myth arrives every week, and you won't want to miss what comes next. Until then, may the old stories keep their hold on you.